Inspired by literature that reflected the African American experience, Samuel Young continued to nurture her love for the written word and storytelling by earning a degree in journalism and a master's in broadcast communication. After college and graduate school, Samuel Young began her first career in television news as a news writer for local stations in Detroit and Los Angeles. Burned out by the demands of television news, Samuel Young set out on a new career path by applying to law school and becoming an attorney. Always a fan of legal dramas like the television show L.A. Law and John Grisham's legal thrillers, and also motivated by her experience as a big firm associate, Samuel Young challenged herself once again and promised herself that one day she would write a legal thriller that would include lawyers who looked like her. Fast forward to 2010, and Samuel Young has accomplished her goal of having published 4 legal thrillers, all the while working as a managing counsel for labor and employment law at a major corporation, in addition to balancing the demands of a husband and children. Just to name a few, Samuel Young has received recognition as an Essence Magazine best-selling author and a finalist in the USA Book News and Best Book of 2006 award in the category of mystery and suspense. When talking about her desire to bring more diverse characters to the legal thriller genre, Samuel Young states, "Diversity is about inclusion, including the viewpoints of those who have traditionally been excluded. My desire to bring a different voice to the legal fiction led me to discover a deep reservoir of readers who were looking for literature that reflected and validated their reality." The winner of the Black Caucus Literary Award for Fiction for the original work, Buying Time, is Pamela Samuel Young. Congratulations. Thank you.
I finished law school in 1990, and I would close these legal thrillers, and I would never see any women who were attorneys or African Americans who were attorneys. And I would say, do these guys ever see any of us in court? When I go to court, I live in the Los Angeles area, I would always see people who look like me. And one day I said, I'm going to write a legal thriller, and I sat down and tried to write it, and I discovered my passion without a doubt. I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to write before I went to work. I'd write when I traveled. I'd write at the airports. And after a 3-year period, I finished my first novel, and I just knew pretty soon I was going to be on Oprah. So I copied the book, and I gave it out to everybody I knew. I mean, literally. And then waited for them to come tell me I was going to be on Oprah. And nobody said a word. Because the book, my first effort pretty much sucked. And it was bad. I didn't really realize it. I still have the manuscript, and I'm embarrassed that I was handing it out. And after about 6 months of chasing down people at work and them making excuses saying, "Oh girl, I'll call you later, I got to go." I was talking to a partner in my law firm who said to me, I was saying I wrote this great book and nobody will read it, and what was wrong with them? And she says, "Give it to me and I'll read it. But if you give it to me, I'm going to tell you the truth." So I was like, cool. I gave her the book, and by that time I had 50 pages of a second novel. So I said, she loved the first one, I'm going to put the second one right in the back of it, because I heard that John Grisham got 45 rejection letters, and people told him nobody wanted to read about lawyers. So I figured she's going to like both. So I attached the second novel, and when she got back to me, she said very nicely, this first book, it's okay. But the second book is a page turner. Now, what had happened in between that first and second effort, one, I had finished the book, so I had the confidence to finish it, and I'd taken a couple of writing courses and had been studying story structure, and began to really learn and study the craft, and that made the difference. And I finished that second book, which was Every Reasonable Doubt, which ultimately led to a book deal from Harlequin. And after publishing 2 books with Harlequin, my third book wasn't picked up. And I found a new agent, a much more prominent agent, and it wasn't picked up. And I'm waiting. And it was my husband who's a plumber. And he would come home, he'd see me with a long face, and said, "Oh, you got another rejection letter, huh?" And I said, "Well, I think you should self-publish." And I'm like, "No, there's a stigma, I can't do this. I know, we should form our own publishing company." I was like, "So what do you know about self-publishing?" He's like, "We want to do like the rappers did. They didn't want to rap first, we're going to take it to the streets." It's like, we have jobs, let's go take it to the streets. But you know what, he continued to push and prod me, and I began to think that this was 2007. If I had waited and got a book deal, it's going to be a year to 2 years before it's out. And I had a strong fan base with the first 2 books, the first 2 made the Essence bestsellers list. And I self-published the third book, Murder in a Download, did very well. And with this book, Buying Time, I never even shopped it. And to have your recognition of my absolutely wonderful to me.